Our mission was to provide and is to provide a world-class, state-of-the-art education for the disadvantaged children of San Pedro. And there are many of them. And we chose this particular location to build Holy Cross Anglican School because of its proximity to a very poor community called San Mateo. And many of our children come to us from San Mateo. And we had a vision in the beginning of opening the school to really try to provide a free education because many of our parents cannot afford to pay even the nominal cost of a public education. My husband Vernon and I came to Belize in 2001 as missionaries from the U.S. Episcopal Church sent to serve in the Anglican Diocese of Belize. And Vernon, as a retired jewelry designer and goldsmith, was to be involved in teaching at the vocational center. And I worked in the diocesan office. And as a volunteer, went to all of the schools in the nation of Belize that were affiliated with the Anglican management. So the whole concept of education in the nation of Belize was something that I was involved with on a day-to-day basis. And we lived at that time in Belize City. And when we wanted to escape for a couple of days, we would come to San Pedro and just pretend like we were tourists and get a little bit of rest and relaxation. Every time we came to San Pedro, we were struck by the numbers of children that were just walking the streets, playing on the beach, selling jewelry to tourists, that type of thing. And I knew full well and good that these children were supposed to be in school because I knew what the school schedule was. We started making some inquiries, and what we found out was that there literally was not classroom space available in San Pedro to accommodate the number of children that were currently living here. We discovered the San Mateo community quite by accident. We were here in San Pedro. We needed to have some work done, and my husband Vernon talked to some folks and they said, go to San Mateo. There are always folks there that are looking for jobs. So he literally walked across the road from where we were.
When I walked through San Mateo to find someone to help me work, I realized that there was no sewer, no running water in most of the houses, and no electricity in most of the houses. And it was built over a swamp. There was no dry land. So I decided that something needed to be done, and I didn't know exactly what. So I contacted some friends of mine, and we decided that we could put together a small corporation and maybe build a little resort and use the funds from that to fix San Mateo area. So then I met with the mayors and the area representative, the equivalent to a senator in the U.S. And I asked them, what do you need for the town? And I was thinking maybe sewer for San Mateo, and they both looked at me and said, we don't need sewer as bad as we need a school. We have 100 children that are not in classes because we don't have classroom space. And I looked at both of them, I said, there's no excuse for no classroom space. You can give me a lot of excuses why kids are not in school, but no classroom space is not an excuse. And the mayors looked at me and said, well, build a school then. So I said, okay, we'll do it. So I went back home, told Frances that she was going to build a school, primary school. She looked at me and said, you're crazy, you've had a heat stroke, you're actually obviously losing it because we've never built a school before. We don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do it, and I don't think anybody's going to help us do it. And I said, well, we'll never learn any younger, so let's see what we can do. So we went and talked to the bishop. He gave us his blessing on it. This was in about April of 2006. I went to the Deputy Prime Minister because we had no land to put the school on. And I convinced him to give us land in San Mateo area. So they gave us 8.5 acres of water to build the school on. Everything was underwater. And we started in August 15th, 2006, putting down the first foundation post for the first of the classrooms. And we were waist deep in mud, sinking posts down the bedrock, which luckily was only about 5 to 7 feet deep at that particular location. But it was quite a chore. Putting down 6x6 posts, they were over 400 pounds apiece.
Vernon persisted, and he got together some volunteers from the local community, and they started putting up these 3 little wooden buildings in the swamp. And so they sunk the pilings down to bedrock, they raised the buildings up, they built walkways out of decking, and by the grace of God and the hard work of some of the local folks here, we opened school on, I think it was September 4th or 5th that year, with 3 classrooms and 62 students. Now, we did not have a book, a pencil, anything, but we at least had a school, which was an incredible start. The problem was that as soon as the school opened, more kids came and more kids came, and moms came and dads came, and please take my child, please let them go to school. They've got to have an education. So we talked with the folks in the Anglican Diocese, and basically the strategy that we hit upon was that I would just be in touch with all of the volunteer teams that I had helped coordinate over the past 5 years and see what type of assistance we could get from the volunteers. And the response was just incredible. I mean, mission teams started coming down. We built a 4th classroom, which was full immediately. We built a series of bathrooms, which were desperately needed. We built a 5th classroom, which was immediately filled. We built a 6th classroom, which was immediately filled. And the volunteers came down here from the United States and Canada and Great Britain. And they not only came to help us physically build the school, they brought books, they brought pencils, they brought paper, they brought everything in the world that was needed to get a school up and running.
There we go. Quarter inch. 2 more.